Gamers, gals, non-binary pals, it's time to talk about YCS Richmond, one of the biggest events of the year, and I want to talk about the tournament results and why I have never been wrong about a ban list prediction ever. Infernoble sweep! Exactly. So this was my post-AGOV tier list for what I thought would be like, like the best deck moving into the current format. And for the most part, I've actually been kind of right. I refuse to believe or take shit from anyone who's been like, oh, but why is Sprite and Rogue? Why is Vanquish so low? Because those decks are bad, okay? These are normal summon reliant decks in the year of our Lord and Savior, fucking 2023. Chimera should be like tier 2 or Rogue. Chimera is such a weird deck in the sense where its results really can vary from event to event. Because like at Richmond, it basically got like no results. But when we look at like YCS Dortmund, this fucking Mickey Mouse YCS, it got like a considerable amount of tops. But that's because it was sort of a undiscovered format. And like at Indianapolis, it kind of whiffed. But Chimera really is this deck that's extremely reliant on like the decks around it being not weak to Ash Blossom, because if all the decks in the format are like weak to Ash Blossom, then like this deck just fucking like immediately implodes, because like Ash Blossom Mirror Knight, you imperm the Baphomet, like this is a deck that really does fucking crumble to interaction at really specific points. So I probably should have dropped this from tier 1.5. I'm just a little biased because this deck fucking kicks my ass on locals. Oh, I definitely fucking whiffed with Vanadium. I'm not gonna lie. Vanadium is a fucking tier 1 deck. I'm sorry for fucking denying any of this, but holy shit, this deck is so good. This deck is so good and so obnoxious for no reason. It's like Spiral in a way, where it could just chew through so much interaction sometimes and just like crack any board. But at the same time, it can lose to either itself or just Brick City. Labyrinth, I'm fucking biased. This deck is like tier 2 at best. But yeah, the rest I'd say is like pretty accurate. Like if I had to like readjust this like on the fly, it would be like this, it would be like this, it would be like this, be like this. This wouldn't be here. Arguably Vanadium shouldn't be tier 1. It's like tier 1.5. Just because like it's a kind of inconsistent deck. It's really hard to play at like an optimal level. Maybe Tier Limit could be in tier 2. Tier Limit's like in a weird spot. Like again, Tier Limit's a fucking gamble deck. It has a really good matchup spread versus a lot of certain decks. Like against Unchained, like this deck will never fucking lose, ever. Against like Unchained and like Rescue Ace, like you are never losing. Just because like all these decks put up is like pop removal. Again, like Tier Limit is extremely reliant on like what the format looks like. And this is like just a great format for Tier Limit. What about Makonko? That's not a real fucking deck. I refuse to look at this. I refuse to treat Makonko as like a real deck. Is it like a funny deck? Objectively, yes. But is it like a good deck? Or are the people who are playing it just like good? And the answer is it's probably just like the latter. These are like the only decks you have to actually like worry about. Like these fucking 8 decks. And these decks are like, they're fucking regional Randy decks. But something curious about this format is that Unchained saw a massive uptick again. And that's mainly because Rescue Ace has a horrible matchup into Unchained. It is actually unplayably bad because all of Rescue Ace's interaction comes in the form of like maybe an Imperm, which Unchained doesn't give a shit about, as well as a pop. Like the Book of Moon kind of is annoying, but they have like Sharvara and Shyama to just completely be like, all right, I can convert this into advantage. The Unchained twins like Rakea, Arua, like literally every Unchained card is like doesn't care if like you Book of Moon them. Like it just doesn't matter. I think Rescue Ace is a very close second. But that's just because I think Rescue Ace has a bit of a harder time going second, as well as the fact that it just can't beat Unchained. Like, I'm sorry, but like the Rescue Ace versus Unchained matchup is like 1090. You are not coming out of that shit alive. Again, Tier Limit converted really nicely just because Unchained and Rescue Ace are pretty easy matchups. And then there's Infernoble. Chat, I've been saying it. You guys all laughed at me for putting Infernoble in tier 1. You guys all thought that you guys were so clever. Once you said Infernoble is tier 1, I'll take everything as gospel. Thank you, Deepacula63. I told you, chat. We were always blowing the horn of Awfulot tonight. The reason I think Infernoble is a tier 1 deck, despite the lack of representation, is because Infernoble is a fucking insanely hard deck to play. We saw this in a lot of other formats, most notably that sort of period of time where like Dragon Link was like the super insanely hard combo deck to pilot optimally, and people were just like, fuck it, I'm gonna play Spiral or like whatever. Infernoble is so fucking difficult to play, enough that Pack literally had to get fucking coaching just to play the deck at an optimal level, and he still made a misplay. Like again, like if for anyone who's like, oh well, Pack's a fucking cheater, omega lol, suck my fucking nuts and skin yourself alive in Minecraft. But like the fact that like literally one of the greatest players of all time, Pack, had like a minor sequencing error with this deck, and he's like, I could still do better. Like that just proves how fucking non-linear and just disgusting this deck is. Like this deck is insanely powerful. It has a crazy power ceiling of like Appaloosa, Baron, Double Charles, plus like Angelica Ring. Like it just has everything. What else? Pearly is falling off. I think Pearly is a weak deck. I think like so many of these decks are changing and evolving with like the new cards they're getting. Like Unchained just is well, it's fucking Unchained. Like Tearlament just has a great matchup spread. Rescue Ace and Infernal got Sinful Spoils. Labyrinth got fucking Arius, so now they have turn 0 Degeneracy, as well as more ability to push through like Interruption and make like Chaos Angel or like Link plays. And like Pearly just, it's looked the same for like the past 9 months. I think that like Pearly's inability to like really innovate or to put in deck choices that meaningfully impact like Labyrinth or Infernal or whatever outside of just like its normal game plan where it just goes first. I think that's kind of why Pearly is starting to fall off in my opinion. This was the only guy playing a Horus Tearlament, and I mean, it makes Zombie Vampire and you mill. Shit goes crazy. God, every time I look at a fucking Tearlament deck list, oh, it's disgusting. Look at this shit. How many what-ofs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Half of this deck is fucking one-ofs, dude. How do people take this deck seriously? I think like the Horus engine is like interesting. I don't think it's very good, mainly just because it's so weak to Ash. It is so fucking weak to Ash. It's not even funny. Another Makonko list, huh? Am I an OTK deck, Dad? No, you're a fucking Floodgate deck with Geonator, Jen, and Ken, dude. Dude, is this what Yu-Gi-Oh has come to? Just going first, you Floodgate your opponent, and then just like going second, you're just like, yeah, this is fine. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! What the fuck? What the fuck did Salamangreat get in? How the fuck did Salamangreat top? William Johnson? Ray William Johnson? It all makes sense all of a sudden how this deck topped. Oh, what's that? Goes in match. Rivalry of Warlords. More Floodgates. Yippee! I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Such a cool game. That doesn't make me want to fucking put a bullet in my brain because everyone's relying on Floodgates, including Labyrinth, which is the only deck I enjoy. Labyrinth got a top. I'm pretty happy about that. I'm not a huge fan of Ariane just because I think that she is the biggest fucking hand trap magnet that makes you lose the game on the spot. Like there's fucking no tomorrow. Like if you get impermed on Ariane, like fucking go next, dude. It's over. But I did used to play like copies of it just because you could make Abyss Roller like super easily. And I guess like now like Ariane is technically a one card in large quotations SP Little Knight. It also does get into your Unchained package like super easily, but I'm gonna say it, chat. I think Unchained Labyrinth sucks. So my issue with Unchained Lab is that you sort of pigeonhole your deck into a worse version of Unchained. Like instead of being able to set up like, you know, Caesar plus Rage and a bunch of other follow-up and Escape, or, you know, just playing Lab as God intended where you fucking normal summon Ariana, hand loop your opponent for 1 and like set 4. Like you're just playing an inferior version of like both products. You just sort of like mix the two together and like your board just becomes like infinitely worse, and you somehow play through hand traps way worse as well. Like because now you're opening yourself up to like losing to Imperm, losing to Effect Veiler, getting hit by Phantasme, getting hit by like Nibiru. I feel like you give yourself too many weaknesses in your deck building as well as your end board with just not enough reward. It's just so weak in my opinion. The fact that people are playing Phantasme as well, I think that's really, really cool. So if you watched my deck profile like Jesse, he was sort of talking about that in the current format, against certain decks like Infernal or maybe like Labyrinth or whatever, you really do need to see very, very specific cards in order to sort of blow them out and, you know, just completely fucking cook them. Outside of exactly like Pearly and Labyrinth, unless you're a fucking degen playing like Unchained Lab, Phantasme is a great way to like dig for cards. It's a great way to just like dig throughout your entire deck and just like find the Droll you need, find the Nibiru you need, find the Duster, find the Evenly. I think that Phantasme being like a pretty interesting tech card in this format, I think is like really cool. And I think that in decks that have the ability to play a lot of non-engine or hand traps or, you know, that sort of stuff like the Bestial Dragon Link, maybe stuff like Pearly, etc. I think that, you know, overall, like, Phantasm is just like a great pick. But overall, Richmond is kind of confirming like what we all kind of knew, and it's that Unchained is still top dog. We had the one YCS where everyone wanted to play fucking Rescue Ace, and everyone just forgot about Unchained because, I mean, like, let's be real, everyone wanted to play fucking Rescue Ace. But then everyone re-remembered, oh yeah, this deck literally can never beat Unchained. So yeah, I think we're in a really cool format right now. And I love wide open formats. That means I get to go to locals and have a different locals experience every single time. That's one of my big things that I like about open formats. It's because for the average player, it's just more fun. No, like, for obviously competitive players, like really tight formats, like fucking tier 0, or like formats where there's maybe only like 1 or 2 decks legal. Like, my biggest fucking issue with that is that it makes like going to local events or like regionals, it just makes it like fucking miserable. Like, am I really gonna like suit up Labyrinth just to play against like 9 fucking tier limit opponents? Like, it just makes the overall experience like way worse for the average player in terms of their one tournament experience. Because, like, let's be real, no one wants to go to locals and they're playing against like the same decks over and over and over again. Like, that's lame and boring, and like no one likes that. And having a format that's extremely wide open, where a wide variety of decks are able to be played, I think that's really cool, and it makes like every single locals experience like a bit more fun and a bit more, you know, epic. Stevie, the average player, is allowed to go to events. How do I ban you? By the way, Konami, non-OTS events. But that's just my personal opinion on like wide open formats, and why I think that for most players it's a good thing. And like pro players who are like, well, I don't like it because my side deck pattern is like 10% less outgo, can suck my nuts and get skinned alive. Anyways, that's it for my thoughts on YCS Richmond and the current format. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. And yeah, it's gonna be it for this video.